Hey, so just one more video talking about Grayson. I'm sure there'll be more terrible raids to talk about down the road, but for now, I just want to do kind of like some final conclusions with the thoughts of what's going on here. Let's just watch some three little clips and take note of these.
Honks, and they die again. This spot where they're standing is just not safe. Is it a patrol of a dog that comes by? Probably.
Bro, this guy's acting like he didn't skip to the exact part where we wiped and he hasn't seen this, bro.
So I'll be like half and half on this. Like, do I watch the
Like
VOD
he's trying.
beforehand? Maybe like 30 seconds. There's a lot of knack trades that I'm orbiting around. I don't have time for just Grayson as much as he wishes that was the case. Fortunately, he has many other simps in his chat that will be there the whole time. So shout out to supporters. I guess that is one first thing to say. I really do appreciate the support overall. I would recommend that you follow anyone that I'm posting these videos about. I generally think that they're good streamers if I'm talking about them. So in general, I hope that I'm never come across too negative with what I'm saying here, because at the end of the day, it's WoW entertainment, right? That's all this really is. But just to say, like, oh, do I think I'm some great masterful guy that is always aware of what's going on? No, I just skipped through a hour-long molten core where there was many wipes and saw that there was deaths and stopped at that point. And in this instance, did I realize that it was the dog patrol? Not really, but I just understand the raid and I know where the patrols are and I know what's most likely to kill people in each spot. That's just kind of what happens when you do the same raid over and over and over. So yeah, I'm not trying to seem like all high and mighty, but reality is like that's likely the only thing that would kill him. Um, I'm doing this always in one take. I want to make that clear. Maybe once or twice I'll split up my videos, but when it's like a 40-minute rant of me dumping my brain, it's just me dumping my brain as much as I can. And sometimes I may get one or two details wrong or stuff like that. But lots of times there isn't a whole ton of prep going into what I'm saying. So just to make that clear, I wasn't trying to feel all high and mighty, not a huge ego trip, just kind of talking about the raid, right? Next one.
Hate you, yeah, hate me, brother. Absolutely, absolutely, man, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I have never once, boasted about my raid leading, brother.
Yeah,
Um,
so that is one thing that I should give him fair credit towards, where he doesn't say he's good. He knows that they're bad raids and it's just kind of a content farm, and that's fair. But I just want to try and give something so that someone can learn something out of it. And I don't know. In business, there's often cases where you look back at these companies that failed masterfully, right? That went bankrupt in a year. Um, Not thinking of some great examples off my mind, but besides like huge fraud companies like Theranos. I'm not saying he's like that, but right, you learn from the bad, and I just want someone to learn from the bad. That's all I'm saying here. Taking like an hour, and in total, BWL and two bosses takes 4 hours. After that, watches me trash talking
Not
him for
trying to be too mean, B.
brother,
considerable amount of time. After that, watching very interesting.
is this him just saying like he watches me for a considerable amount of time? I feel like that's like him trying to be a certain way there. As
That's not what I said, for the record. If we go back,
B.
what I said, you can listen to it yourself.
brother.
Considerable amount of time. I said that Grayson watched my trash talk for a considerable amount of time. Grayson just put that in his brain as someone that is a streamer and thinks that he's more important than other people. He just put that in his head and said, "Oh, this guy's saying that he watches me and therefore he's earned something." And that's not what I said at all. But I think that kind of goes into what this discussion ends up devolving afterwards. The parasocial relationship that goes on in some of these chats is honestly fascinating, at the same time just disturbing. Um, I guess this is a good time to say here too, like, I don't think that Grayson's ever called anyone a slur. I genuinely do think that he's a nice guy and just a good WoW streamer. Sometimes there's people like it's fun to hate on streamers, right? It's fun to call people
Has to be
bad
stopped.
and stuff like that. But I do just genuinely want to keep things positive and say like I it's content, right? We're just talking about content. And the way that some people, especially in like the late night, like Grayson's audience are people that are watching him from like midnight to 8 in the morning a lot of the times. And some of those people are just not very stable. The contents of his chat are sometimes not great. And that's why I honestly don't want to cover this sort of content very often, simply because some of the people that are around. And it's not on his end. He is not curating this at all. He has to constantly moderate his chat and just kind of purge some weirdness. Just talking about the weirdness afterwards, it ends up being this whole long discussion. Basically, this guy puts this kind of weird TTS that just seems very incel to me. You're able to have whatever take you want, but basically it was never touched a woman, and we throw rocks at people that aren't fairly intellectually smart. That was essentially what was said here. Like, let's look at it for ourselves. The timing is perfect. I think it's all right here. Let's see if he goes back up. But okay, yeah, here it is. This guy's a test tube baby, never touched a female body except his grandmother in the other room when he needed a sponge bath. This kid is retarded, and I used to throw rocks at kids growing up. So, like, and this is someone that's subbed for months and months. And then after he's subbed for months and months and kind of like had this parasocial relationship where this streamer just has to like relate with this guy, he gets mad when the streamer doesn't respond how he wants. When the streamer's like, dude, that's actually kind of weird. Like, what you're saying is off. Then this guy G quits on all of his characters, leaves the guild that he was in Crash Out, and just rages at this streamer for like 30 minutes. And then an even bigger person kind of in the community, McConnell, comes to defend that guy. And he's like, oh, it wasn't that bad of a TTS. And Grayson's just like, dude, I can defend my chat how I want. And McConnell then just kind of like freaks out over that more and more. The whole thing was just kind of weird to me. And it's an example of why I need to take a step back of not covering this kind of stuff very much. I want to get back into the roots. We're going to have a lot more videos of other WoW content coming up here. Genuinely just kind of weird, and I wanted to talk about it. That to me is the magic of classic WoW, of how you can have a raid content be entertainment and then everything else be entertainment as well. To me, it's just a kind of unique game in that way where there's just some real crazies out there. So just had to talk about it, and maybe I'll catch some strays with the craziness because of that take. But just saying it the way I see it, there's some weirdos. So anyways, GG's.